There's three things I want to talk about concerning Sergey Levine's interview with Varkesh Patel. For people who are new to this podcast and in general to the field, just real quick about Varkesh. He interviews AI people and people in the industry in general. So he's a I would say a pretty decent interviewer. He does his research. He asks good questions. So it's overall a really worthwhile endeavor. And Sergey, he's probably it's always difficult to talk in absolutes, but he's one of the more important researchers in AI to date. I would say AI in general, not just robotics. He's actually a roboticist, but since robotics really is synonymous with AI, I think at this point he's just a very important researcher. So he said three things that are I think interesting, and Sergey is the kind of person that you can't get enough listening to because he always has something new to say. He's a creative mind. He thinks about things differently. He has a different approach towards things. So he's just that type of person. So one thing he said is that on the question, when are we going to have the AI systems ready? He said it's not about having the AI systems ready. It's about starting the flywheel. And I think this is very key. Has been consistent to Sergey's work in the last couple of years. It's about building systems that can learn. I mean, this is the bitter lesson. I think he doesn't really say it anymore as much, but he's definitely very much in the school of the bitter lesson. So instead of building a human brain, build a child that can learn, kind of thing. So, but back to what he said, I think that's really when we invest in AI technologies, that's what we look at. We don't look at a system as, okay, this is it. This is, FSD is not working. It's solved. Let's buy Tesla shares. Optimus is not solved yet. Let's wait. And then once it's solved, once we have a general robot that can build structures on Mars and clean your house and things like that, then let's buy the stock. That's not how it works. I mean, you shouldn't do that in the first place, based on financial aspects. Whenever you buy things after the fact, usually you pay too much for it. But the real problem, the technical avenue towards success in investing in AI is really investing in this flywheel. Like, you want to invest in companies that leverage the bitter lesson, that build systems, general methods that leverage compute, and that's what Sergey is saying here. Another thing he said, that's really interesting. He said they were talking about simulation and whether simulation is going to get good enough, and if we can train robots in simulation. Now, we do need simulation, but in general, if you think about it, like, we need counterfactuals. That's what we really need. So what we need is a system that can make decisions between doing this or that, because that's really, I think fundamentally, that's what intelligence is. Intelligence is iteration over many epochs. It's not iteration over time. It's not iteration over, it's just try to do as many tries as you can. This applies to, I don't know, Silicon Valley. Have as many shots on goal as possible. Keep, Naval, live in the arena, like, do things. Like, it's in many different fields. Like, if your child wants to develop as a person, expose her to more ideas, more things, and the idea is always the same. It's a counterfactual concept, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing without counterfactuals, you're not learning anything. The way you learn is by having the option to do A or B, and then obviously having a feedback loop, whether it's backvalidation or whatever model you use, but you need somehow to feed back into the model and say, okay, the choice that you made was not so good. Maybe you should have done this. And so this brings a whole new. It's only a few sentences, right? It's not about simulation. It's about counterfactuals. But the meaning of it is pretty substantial, because it means that we need to build a system that can have a series of counterfactuals that help the agent learn to pursue the goals that are relevant for let's say in the case of a robot, we want the robot to be able to clean, let's say, to clean a house. And in order to pursue that goal, you have a simulation, and the simulation needs to allow you to have the kinds of counterfactuals that allow you to learn that. So that I thought was really, really interesting. And then the third thing he said, which is also kind of profound, is that AI actually makes hardware development easier, better, faster. So we've been looking, and even here at Orange Capital Partners, I think we made a mistake by looking at hardware development as sort of, okay, there's hardware and there's software. In fact, it's together. And actually, Tesla is the perfect example, our largest position, Tesla, where you have the hardware side of things, and then you have the software side of things. And a lot of the software side of things actually has been able to make hardware easier, particularly the fact that it's a vision-based system. And I think what Sergey was trying to allude to in the interview, he said, cheap vision can solve a lot of hardware problems. And what does that mean is that, like, you can have a hardware, like a Frankenstein hardware type, like Waymo, that is more built like an industrial robot, like a KUKA robot, where everything has to be precise to the millimeter, and it's very rigid, and it follows a certain control theory-based approach. Because it doesn't have the kind of flexibility, it's not built end-to-end based on vision, versus if you build end-to-end based on vision, you have a lot more flexibility as a system. You don't need all the hardware that comes with LiDARs and radars and things, but more importantly also, you are able to learn through vision the same way we humans learn. You're able to gauge, right? As a system, you learn how to gauge, okay, I'm close to the curb. I don't know exactly how close I am, but I'm close enough, that's fine. So for things like that, the same applies to the Optimus robot, that you're gonna not need that much precision. That's one of the things, right? The precision. At She talked about this at Baylearn. Like, you have this incredibly precise robot, like the KUKA type robots, and then we go towards general robotics, which will be more the good enough type robotics. And I think the good enough robotics is going to be AI based, and it's going to facilitate hardware development, because you can have a bit more flexibility in the hardware. So I think those are sort of the three things that he said in the interview, worth listening to. Again, I think he's the type of person that always comes up with something interesting, even if you've heard him several times before. Thank you.